Good morning, South Africa. Sanbonani, Dumelang, Molweni, Huyemore, Avsheni, Nda. On Thursday night, President Cyril Ramaphosa will deliver his State of the Nation address in the face of the greatest suffering we've seen in South Africa since the end of apartheid. Over the past year, tens of thousands of lives lost to this pandemic and millions of livelihoods destroyed. South Africans are hopeful, resilient people, but the COVID-19 pandemic has pushed our society to its limits and exposed the West in our government. Despite the resilience of the South African spirit, we cannot afford another State of the Nation's address that fails to inspire hope. We cannot afford more empty promises laid on top of the long list of broken ones. We cannot afford rhetoric that doesn't present a plan to see our country make progress once again. My fellow South Africans, today I stand before you to say to the good majority of South Africans what you need to hear most, but you will never hear it during the course of this week. Hope is not lost. We can get South Africa working. We can move South Africa forward. Despite all the negativity, despite all the corruption, despite all the challenges we face, we can and must build an inclusive, prosperous South Africa. I do not say this lightly, or even without reason and resolve. Over the past couple of weeks, Action SA has asked South Africans to come forward and share their vision for our country, to describe the kind of country they want to live in. We are a party born of the people, and it is your steadfast belief in the ability of our country to emerge from our darkest hour that inspires me to keep fighting for our future. In reading the response of many South Africans, I'm reminded that South Africans of all races, men and women, young and old, whatever your religion, your sexual orientation, most of us want to build a prosperous, shared future in our beloved country. South Africa wants a country where every citizen is valued. Like Mike Leroux, we want to be equal, not just on paper, but equal in our ability to access opportunity, because the wounds of our past are being healed by the progress made in addressing inequality. Like Solly Ahmed, we desire a future where families are secure in knowledge that hard work, dedication, and personal ingenuity are enough to succeed in life. Like Sekgalo Dumelo, we long for a day where our government does not bring us shame, but make us proud, because capability is prioritized over patronage, delivered over excuses, and honesty over corruption. Like Paulette Apane, we dream of a time where criminals are hunted down by a capable criminal justice system, and the law-abiding citizens learn what it means to live in peace, free from fear. Why then, if so many of us share this vision for our country, do we live without being realized? It is because the voices of the majority of South Africans have been silenced by the radicals, the corrupt, the criminals, those who sow hate, and those who put party before country. It is time for hardworking, law-abiding, and family-oriented majority of our country to stand together and realize that we outnumber those who want to keep us apart. It is time for the majority to reclaim our country from the selfish, the criminal, the corrupt, and place it on a path to prosperity. Ladies and gentlemen, during this year's State of the Nation address, we will hear much more about what the President said. You will hear many political parties talking about what the President didn't say. I do not know about you, but I have grown tired of this yearly ritual that appears to be for the benefit, because it certainly doesn't help any of us. Today, I stand before you to say to the majority of South Africans what you need to hear most, but will not hear during the course of this week. We can get South Africa working. Let me say it again, in case you are not sure if you heard me correctly. We can get South Africa working. The first order of business is that we need to beat COVID-19. This means that we need to procure enough doses of the vaccine, we need to manage its distribution effectively, And we need to vaccinate enough South Africans that we can return to life as we knew it. Until this happens, we will be subjected to a third, a fourth, and probably a fifth wave of infections that will overwhelm our health facilities and cause many preventable deaths. To beat this pandemic, we need real leadership to dismiss the false information about the vaccine and to tell South Africans the truth, that it is the only hope to stem the tragedy in our lives and livelihoods. To beat this pandemic, we need a process that ensures that every vaccine is handled by someone appointed because of what they know, not who they know. To beat this pandemic, we need a system that will implement and accurately track vaccinations to ensure they reach the required level of immunity in our society. To beat this pandemic, we will need the heroes that serve on the front line of this pandemic. They've gone to work day in and day out, even though their lives were at risk. Hundreds of these men and women have died. Over 43,000 have been infected, and yet they went to work for us, the people of this country. Action SA had to initiate Hire Our Medical Heroes campaign to ensure that our South African unemployed doctors and nurses are employed to reinforce our medical personnel on the front line of this pandemic. Today, I'm pleased to say that the Department of Health is engaging nearly 1,000 unemployed doctors, nurses, and medical interns who came forward. I listened with shame to hear our cabinet had nominated the Cuban doctors for a Nobel Peace Prize when our South African medical heroes receive only platitudes. Yesterday, I launched the campaign, Thank Our Heroes, that we can express our gratitude to our healthcare workers. I'm calling upon all South Africans, in their own way, find a way to express our deepest gratitude to our frontline health workers. Every Sunday ahead of the new week, I will post my appreciation to our health workers with the hashtag Thank Our Heroes, and I ask you to join me. Let our frontline workers go to work every Monday knowing that we recognize their sacrifice and salute their bravery. The second requirement to fix our country is to unseat the ANC. I want to repeat this because it is important. For South Africa to succeed, the ANC must be out of government. It is just that simple. Everything we have experienced with the mismanagement of this pandemic has actually been a front row seat to how the ANC has destroyed the capability of our civil service. We entered this pandemic with a healthcare system that was already producing horror stories of childbirth in corridors and death in the waiting rooms. COVID-19 just brought this closer to home. While our government was focusing on alcohol, cigarette, and open-toed shoes, other governments were getting in line ahead of us to procure the vaccine. When we were in a lockdown, when our businesses and jobs were dying so that our government could increase the capacity of our hospital and clinics, our government could not even honor this sacrifice by increasing doctors, nurses, beds, oxygen tanks, and ventilators. While our people were suffering, the ANC was looting and getting rich. COVID-19 just demonstrated what we already knew. Our country cannot succeed as long as the ANC is in power. For South Africa to achieve the vision of a prosperous, non-racial, and secure future for all South Africans, the ANC must become part of the history of our country. Because the truth is that we are less equal than we were in 1994. We are less employed, less educated, and less safe than we were in 1994. The project to fix South Africa not only has to fix our colonial and apartheid past, it has to reverse the damage of the last 27 years of ANC government. While this project must unseat the ANC in 2024, it has to begin with unseating the ANC in as many municipalities as possible in this year's local government elections. That is why Action SA has written to the leaders of like-minded opposition parties to propose a multi-party platform working to establish a common ground in our mutual objective to unseat the ANC. The next part of our plan is to turn our economy around. It is going to be the biggest challenge, but it is the one that we can overcome with a real economic plan that is decisive and it is non-negotiable. This plan must see government's budget cut to the bone. It must start with the president showing leadership and reducing his cabinet. It must be mirrored by efforts in every department. While South Africans lost 2.8 million jobs in 2020, the cadres within our government departments cannot continue to be scoring pay increases and bonuses. There have to be real cuts. All of the ridiculous non-essentials of government must be cut so that more funds can be redirected to providing economic relief and tax cuts to South Africans and South African businesses. State-owned entities that cannot make profits and sustain themselves must either turn around or go. We cannot continue with financial backholes like South African Airways any longer. Labor laws must be relaxed to make it easier for businesses to hire unemployed South Africans. We are approaching the day where there are more unemployed South Africans than those with jobs. We cannot placate the unions any longer at the expense of the unemployed. Small businesses need to be the future of our country. Business skills must be taught at schools. FET colleges and vocational schools need to mushroom around the country, and government must make it easy for small businesses to establish and grow. However, between August and November this year, we will go to the polls for our local government elections. To do everything that needs to be done to fix our country, we must remove the ANC from as many municipalities as possible. There is no better place to start the project to get South Africa working than in our cities and towns. I know this because I had the privilege to serve as the mayor of the city of Johannesburg. I know what it means to run a coalition because, like it or not, coalitions are the future of South African politics. I know that it is possible to take billions of rands from the luxuries of government and put it into fixing our roads and electrifying our informal settlements. I know that we can take the abandoned buildings that are home to criminals and give them to the private sector to build world-class affordable accommodation in our inner city. I know that we can expand our metro policing abilities to become real force to fight crime. I know that we can fix our broken street and stabilize our electricity grid. I know that we can put in place anti-corruption units that pursue the corrupt just like we did in Johannesburg. I know all of this to be possible, ladies and gentlemen, because along with 7 other parties, we implemented these changes in Johannesburg in just over 3 years. We redirected over 2 billion rands from international travel, self-promoting advertising, conferences and the like, and increased the budget to fix Johannesburg's broken infrastructure. We electrified more informal settlements than had been electrified in many years of the city's history. We responded to the Maziko's family in the Prince's informal settlement, whose family suffered from respiratory illness, and extended the clinic hours of city's clinics throughout Johannesburg. We resurfaced over 900 kilometers of the broken roads of Johannesburg and built the biggest electricity substation in the Southern Hemisphere within time and budget. For the first time in the city's recent history, we began reducing the leaks of our water pipes and electricity outages from our network by renewing our infrastructure. We responded to the plight of the Soweto family, whose son was in the throes of addiction, and built the first city-operated drug rehabilitation clinics. We distributed nearly 8,000 title deeds to families who could never own the homes they were given because nobody ever gave them the dignity of the title to their own home. I remember the reaction of those families, and one in particular in Ennerdale, who wept at the fight for a title deed coming to the end. We increased the facilitated investment in the city from 4.5 billion rands to 17.3 billion rands and initiated the biggest inner city rejuvenation in modern South Africa. We initiated the first opportunity centers where young small business owners came and received support, and we initiated artisan training program that began graduating young tilers, plumbers, electricians, and bricklayers. I use the term we because these achievements were not mine alone, but a team of different parties that were able to work together for the benefit of the residents of the city of Johannesburg. This is the future of local government. Ladies and gentlemen, if there's one truth that emerges this year from the state of our nation, let it be that the project to get South Africa working has started. Let South Africans realize that the solution will not arise within our parliament this week. It lies with us, the good, hardworking, and law-abiding majority of our country. We have to believe that our country can be fixed, and we have to come together in our hundreds, we have to come together in our thousands, in our hundreds of thousands, in our millions, so that we can start the hard work of getting South Africa working. Let us act as one against the ANC and for the people of our country. Let us act as one against corruption and for the jobs in our country. Let us act as one against cadre deployment and for service delivery. Let us act as one to begin the hard work to get South Africa working. Let us act as one. I thank you.